Words like narcissist, sociopath, psychopath are tossed around quite often nowadays. And yet, the suggestion could be explored that what we may have in mind in connection with such terms is purely a product of our fantasy and actually might often do more harm than good. What are some essential ideas here to explore? What do we understand what any such terms could mean? Right? What would it mean to be a narcissist in truth? What would it mean to be normal, to be non narcissistic in truth? One thing to understand is that logic compels us to insist that all people, and indeed all forms of life altogether, are only able to act formally and in a technical sense out of positive intent. That may seem utterly absurd. There is so much destructive, negative, bad stuff that we do all the time. And yet, here the reason to say that we have to act for positive intent, again, is technical. It's not a question of experience. One easy way to get at the meaning of that would be to ask why a person did something. The answer can never be destruction or negation for its own sake. Let's say that somebody did something very destructive. They damaged some property. They just smashed, a door. So somebody asked me, why did that person do that? I say, for no reason. They just did it because they're stupid, evil, crazy, and bad. That's just talk, right? I'm expressing my emotions fine. But actually, why did the person do it? Well, they were angry. Okay, and what did they want? Well, they wanted to appease their anger. They wanted to express power. They wanted to express frustration. They wanted to maybe get somebody back, whatever the case might be. But it certainly was a positive object that they were shooting for. It was not destruction for the sake of destruction. That's impossible. That's just how things might appear outwardly. When I see somebody doing something and I don't see why they do it, I could say or think or feel they're doing it just because. They're doing it purely out of destruction, especially when what's in question is scary, uncomfortable, aggressive. Right? We might see, should we say, some predatory animal like a shark or a snake doing its thing. And it appears to be just pure violence and destruction. I'd imagine a great white shark ripping into a seal, something like this. Why is the shark doing it? Oh, just to be evil. I hate the shark. But the shark just wants lunch or breakfast or dinner or a snack, right? Depending on the size of the seal. It's logically necessary. There's no option to say that the shark is being destructive for the sake of being destructive. So again, that holds for any and all human action. It is not possible to act ever, not before, now, or ever, for anything but a strictly positive object. The person is pursuing some perceived good. So then what is the difference between quote unquote bad and quote unquote good people? If all people can only pursue a positive object, act out of, technically speaking, positive intent, then how come all people are not equally good? Obviously, there's no need to deny that. Right? Normally, we might answer and say that bad people, again, do things for no reason. Narcissistic people do things for no reason, or to just be bad, sociopaths, psychopaths, criminals, all these negative terms. But now we see that can't be. So what then is the difference? Difference would seem to be the self, such the satisfaction of which we seek. Right? The shark seeks in its activities, such as snacking on the seal, the satisfaction of a self, such as we call shark, or such the body related to which we call shark. The monkey seeks the satisfaction of the monkey self. The mosquito seeks the satisfaction of the mosquito self. Here we're using self in a broad, loose connotation. Obviously, there's a certain sense of the term that we can never say a mosquito has it, but in a certain sense, a kind of existence or being or individuality in question. Right? An ant then seeks satisfaction in light of being an ant. We as well seek our satisfaction in light of who we are. And that would make the difference between people that are on the better side at present and people that are not on the better side at present. What then do we mean when we say that somebody is a narcissist, somebody is a sociopath, somebody is a psychopath? We mean to say not that the person is seeking destruction for its own sake, not that the person is seeking the negative for the sake of the negative, but that in question is a self, such the satisfaction of which is likely to lead to actions, to interactions, to behaviors, to relationships that are not conducive to health and wholesomeness and progress and perfection and goodness and truth and beauty and love. Perhaps some other positive terms could be added. What are selves like this like? Well, we see that in the state of nature, we could say, right, where we are essentially alike to our pals in the animal kingdom. Our self is simply what has been produced in the course of nature, right, along with nurture, along with some of our spontaneous contributions to who we become. And that is the self that we have. Some of these selves that we have are on the healthier, more developed side. I can feel empathy. I can relate to others. I'm able to feel unified with others. I feel decently big inside. I'm socialized. I can interact nicely with others. That kind of thing. Other selves, however, are not so well endowed. And here it could be that I am unable to feel genuine empathy for others. I am unable to really love anyone, myself included. My ideas about the world are distorted. I have thought up a solution to the problems of life that is based on lies and illusions and falsehood. I have met my psychological desires, such as for superiority, safety, security, again through dubious means, by spinning tales to myself, by withdrawing into myself, that kind of thing. So now the self that I have, right, be it defined in terms of the ideas that I have, the beliefs that I have, just the overall inward experience of my individuality, that self is such that to seek its satisfaction, right, to feel good being the self, I then need to feel compelled to act in a certain way, treat other people in a certain way, right, have certain sorts of relationships, do and not do certain things, such that other people then can perceive that and say, this person is a narcissist. This person is a sociopath. This person is a psychopath. The error then would be to suppose, one, that some such term causes anything. Right? We can easily mistake a label and give it causative powers. Right? Why can't I focus? Well, it's my ADHD. That is literally why that word ADHD is making me not focus. Here, why is that person like that? Well, they're a narcissist, right? The narcissism, it's like a power and it's causing something. No, that's one mistake. Two would be to suppose that there are people that are fundamentally different than myself, the good guy or girl, right? Such as the person that does treat me poorly, such as the person that does not respect me or themselves. That would be the second mistake. Instead, the correct view would seem to be that I have a certain sort of self with all its problems and imperfections and inadequacies. I seek satisfaction in light of that self. I seek to feel, for example, superior, safe, secure, right? To fulfill my desires such as they are in light of who I am. That applies to everybody else. With that said, some people have highly inadequate selves. Some people have highly inadequate ideas concerning themselves and other people. When people like that seek for their self-satisfaction, seek for the satisfaction of their desires, that can amount to destruction, that can amount to um, bad relationships, that can amount, unfortunately, to abuse and all kinds of things. That is true. It is not true that that person is fundamentally something other than me or is operating on fundamentally different principles than am I. I'm on the good side, they're on the bad side. I'm part of the light, they're part of the dark. That is my fantasy. And that is me actually cutting myself in two and seeing all my own nonsense in another person instead of recognizing that person to be essentially the same as am I, even with all of their problems, even with all of their inadequacies. So, in summary, terms such as narcissism, psychopathy, sociopathy could be construed as deceptive. And to be a little bit edgy, they can be called even, or those theories can be called a myth, in the sense of one saying that any such term causes any kind of behavior. Narcissism causes a certain sort of behavior. Two, in supposing that there are people that are wired fundamentally different than me. I'm on the good side and somebody else is fundamentally on the bad side. And three, then using that as an opportunity to simply project all day long. I figured out my parent is a narcissist. All the evils in my parent. That's where all my problems come from. My sibling is a narcissist. My friend is a narcissist. My neighbor is, and so forth and so on. That solves nothing. If I take a close and honest look at my own self, then some progress can be made. With that said, practical measures can and should be taken. It's a whole different topic, but briefly speaking, there are some selves which we do not expect to change. Right? With all the training in the world, we will not really change the self or the, say, being or what have we, such as we call, um, a Komodo dragon or a poisonous snake or even a tiger or a lion. We can train them, we can tame them. They might be calm for 10 years, 20 years, but their inner reality remains. It's unchangeable. We can never take an animal and give the animal true self-consciousness, right? And make the animal truly compassionate and loving in the way that humans can be. So that's a fool's errand. I'm going to change my pet crocodile by being very nice to them. No, right? It's not going to happen. With that said, I don't have to demonize the alligator. I don't have to think the alligator is a force of pure nothingness and darkness. You can understand that's an animal that seeks its satisfaction in its particular way. Just so with human selves. There are some human selves that it is not our job, unless we are dedicated professionals whose mission that is, to change. There are certain selves with whom it would be very sabotaging and destructive and fruitless to enter into personal relations with. That is so. When I identify such a self, when I identify such persons, then I can try to steer clear of them and take practical measures to not have any problems. Does that mean that those people are fundamentally different than am I? No. Does that mean that they operate according to essentially different principles than the ones according to which I operate? No. Does that mean that I have permission to demonize them or classes of people, the narcissists, the psychopaths, the bad people? No, unless I want to play myself and never morally mature myself, because all the problems are in all of these bad people and not in me. So those are some ideas concerning these matters, and we can consider them. Thank you for listening.